So like I said, there are a lot of people who don't like the idea of having hierarchies. They feel like having that triangle there is a negative sign. We don't need leaders. We can all be leaders. We can all be CEO. And there are a lot of people in history who've thought like this, right? And in this episode, I want to show you why competing with how we are biologically structured is a very bad idea unless you have a very good alternative solution that involves technology. And because we don't have that yet, and we will always create hierarchies, I just want to show you in this episode, what are the examples of people who've actually tried to make these hierarchies and how has it panned out for them? All right, so let's talk about flat structures, right? So can humans accomplish flat hierarchies or flat structures and true equality? And let's talk about what equality is in a bit as well. But from history, we've learned that it is impossible to fight biology for any meaningful amount of time. Structurelessness in groups does not exist. Everyone cannot be equal, regardless of how you try to take them away. If you remove money or designated rank, for example, the humans in a group will just find another way to order themselves. Followers, for example, Instagram followers, for example, or Facebook followers. Or even if you remove that, humans will find a way. And even in offices where, there are many companies who've tried it to make flat, structures, what eventually ends up happening is some people are still looked up to as leaders. I mean, if you were sitting in a room and there was an intern and somebody who started the company or who's been working there for 7 years, you can't expect to take both of them seriously, right? So even if a company claims they all take decisions together, obviously the person with more experience, the person who's been there longer, the person who sacrificed harder for the company, you'll weigh that person's decision a lot more, right? So let's talk about the failures first, right? And these are all links. This is downloadable. I need you to understand that there are companies who've tried to make these flat structures very recently and who have all struggled and failed badly, and they've done a U-turn. GitHub, for example, gave up on it during a public turmoil last fall. Buffer gave up on their flat structure and it was covered in their co-founder Leo Widrich's post, What We Got Wrong. Medium, which is another company you guys probably know, abandoned the holacracy model it previously touted because it was getting in the way of work, right? People don't know who to look up to when they have a problem, right? That's the thing. We need leaders because when we have a problem, we need somebody to look up to. It's just how it is. Treehouse, the online training platform, returned to managers, calling the no boss attempt naive, right? So it surprises me that there are people even today who are successful in the fields of technology who forget about the management fields, especially as the companies get bigger. And I've seen it so many times. I've seen a lot of indie companies in India do it. Either they stay stuck as a small company and they have all of these teething issues, or as they get bigger, they just last like 3 or 4 years, they implode or they explode and the companies just fail, right? So the gist is flat structures don't work well. And I'm going to put, and these are just companies, right? I'm going to put many more examples of structures, and I'm talking about, it could be political structures or people working together or any sort of team which have failed the minute they became flat. And, there's some reading up on that for you guys to do as homework, right? So our DNA unfortunately creates hierarchies. We began to realize that by building a company with a flat organizational structure, we had done the exact opposite of what we had intended. We had centralized all the decision making and we were relying on a secret implicit structure to make progress. So the minute you remove titles and you try to give everyone equal rank and you say, oh, everyone's CEO or everyone is this manager role or whatever, then people create secret structures. People still have to look up to somebody, so they look up to people, and then there are people still helping other people, and then they're all saying, hey, why am I being compensated the same way as the other person when everyone's looking up to me, right? So it hurts people. And as people have worked hard, they want recognition, right? If I worked for 10 years at a company, I wouldn't want to be treated the same way as an intern, right? Obviously, I worked hard. So because there's a lot of competition in many companies, I will simply move to the company that values me and values my position more than that of an intern. So humans and most mammals will always self-organize into hierarchies. So it is better to accept our biology and create structures that work hand in hand than against. Let's just accept what we're made of and say, what's the best we can do with that, right? Imagine you're a graphic designer and you're being paid 5 lakhs a year, right? And there are many other graphic designers, and that's the standard for a graphic designer. What is your incentive to get better? Why would you want to get better? Why would you want to improve your craft? Yeah, you might have a lot of fun doing it, and there's the inherent improvement in the speed at which you do things. But at the end of the day, you want to make more money, right? You've gotten better so that you can add more value to other people in a shorter amount of time, and you can put your work out there. You're getting better at visibility too. Why would you want to do all that, right? If you're going to be paid the same. When everyone is paid the same, nobody wants to get better. Remember, this is a society of rewards, right? And we want to get into a situation, everything we do for ourselves, and you probably don't realize, but you're already doing this. You're trying to get the best out there for yourself, right? And that's why this is an important concept to understand. Because of this fact, it is impossible for all humans to get paid equally, have the same title, have the same rank, even if they're doing the same work. Now, I'm not against the idea of equal pay, right? But I'm against the idea of equal pay for different roles. I mean, it's like, I've heard this idea that all graphic designers in India should be paid 5 lakhs or 6 lakhs or 7 lakhs or 10 lakhs. And I find it silly, right? Because I have nothing against paying 2 graphic designers 10 lakhs as long as A, they have the same kind of experience or almost the same kind of experience, and B, they're actually able to produce the same kind of work. And C, there's the element of sales. If you have a lot of visibility as a graphic designer, you are very, very likely to be paid much more and have more consistent work than the next person, right? And the multivariate studies of this have been done. And it's very hard for us to find examples where there are 2 people who are exactly similar in terms of skill, sales ability. We know humans don't work like that. We know humans are different, right? So for us to ask, can we have equal pay possible for all people who are doing all kinds of different jobs for all different situations? It's not possible, right? We need to be very granular about what that is. And it depends a lot on your sales ability, how well you're able to sell yourself. So I've seen, for example, there was this one woman who was working with me in my old company, JobSpy, who's being paid top dollar, right? She was being paid the most in the company because she brought that kind of experience, right? And compare that to the person who succeeded her at marketing in JobSpy, who's being paid 1/3 of her salary, right? It's because he just simply didn't bring that kind of experience. For me to just say, hey, they're both VP level, so I'm going to pay them both the same amount of money is ridiculous, because one person is in crazy demand on the market and the other person, just got promoted to manager. It's not the same thing, right? But we can work towards equality of opportunity, right? You should be allowed to pick any career, to get any kind of experience, and to build your own visibility and allow for fair and equal competition, because at the end of the day, that's what breeds true innovation, right? So when you have equality of opportunity, it means you as a child or a child who's maybe, or an adolescent who's maybe 17 or 18 years old, we decide when that is, that person can choose to become anything that person wants. That's what I believe in. You should be able to become anything. You should be able to become multiple things if you want to. I see a future where there are pilots who maybe are on a plane, and then they also come back and do some YouTube content. It's possible, right? Because I'm doing that, and I see a lot of more people doing that, and I get to interact with thousands of people every week who do that, right? Who are doing multiple things. So I'm okay with everyone having complete equality of opportunity. You shouldn't be denied doing something, right? If you want to really become a doctor and your parents or society tells you can't become a doctor, I think that's terrible, right? I think you should be able to become whatever you want, and your pay should be determined by how good you are, your experience, and what kind of visibility you have. And we should make sure that it's not that a few people who get all the visibility. We should make sure everyone gets their opportunity to be in the limelight and get some visibility, right? And that happens only when you put yourself out there. Refer to that triangle or the industry movement chart that I showed you, right? So one thing that I would suggest is you should move out of your house, right? And if you listen to maybe Jordan Peterson and a bunch of other top-rated clinical psychologists, this is advice they'll give you. At home, your stack rank will never be 1 or 2, right? Because since the stack rank goes to your parents, right? You will always be number 3 at home, so you get used to those serotonin levels, or you get used to that kind of environment where you're always restricted and you feel like your thoughts are you're not rank 1 basically, right? You cannot work your way up at home without conflict or until your parents age enough to give away, right? One of the reasons why, kids become mature as their parents get older is because their parents actually let go a little bit, right? And the parents say, I'm not old enough, I'm not young enough to be able to handle these issues. So the kids have to pick up on it. And that's how their stack rank increases, right? Internally, they get more confident with the things they're doing as well. Moving out allows you to focus on moving up the dominance hierarchy system without creating in-family conflict, right? So I really love the idea of the Indian family and having like a big family with a lot of joint family members. But often what happens is you need to move out at least temporarily. It doesn't have to be forever. It could be for a year, for 2 years. You might want to go to hostel, whatever it is, right? And you might want to go out for a little bit and come back so that you're able to get your real shot at the real world instead of being in an always protected environment where you are not rank 1 and you are not. See, the thing is, going to rank 1 not just comes with all its benefits, but it also comes with all its responsibilities. If you screw up, you're the only one responsible, right? If something bad happens in your family, then the person who's on top, maybe it's your mother. In my family, it was my mother. In maybe your family, it could be your father. That person has to take responsibility for it and pick everything up and make sure, if say the family goes bankrupt, that person goes out and takes a loan, right? It's on that person's shoulder, and nothing will ever be on your shoulder if you're rank 3. So you don't get the responsibility, and obviously because of that, you don't get the benefits. So the goal is to move up social hierarchy while reducing conflict and increasing cooperation. Moving out hurts in the short term, but is beneficial for both you and your parents in the long term, since moving up the rank also increases your skill, adaptability, and influence, so you can take better care of them, right? So this idea that you have to stay with your parents all the time, I think you should take 1 or 2 years off, try your crack at the real world and come back, because that teaches you so much about the real world. You're not always protected, right? So that's it for this video. This was a slightly shorter one. In the next video, we're going to start learning about how the ocean model works. All right, so that's it for this video. This was a slightly shorter one. Let's keep learning about management.